The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the Bliss Business Podcast, the show where we explore how empathy, connection, and purpose transform business from the inside out. I'm Stephen, joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Before the show, Tulio was talking about our Bliss methodology, building love into scalable systems, and how we kind of implemented that back in 2018, formally. And today we were named one of the finalists for the Thanks Applied Gratitude Business Awards. So one of 5 finalists. So my thanks and gratitude to all of our teammates at Zero Company for their efforts daily to make that happen. Go to thanks.com and vote for Zero Company. You'll see a Applied Gratitude Business Award on there. We'd certainly appreciate all the votes there. We're doing all this podcasting and everything, trying to get people to definitely have more gratitude and joy in their lives, which we're kind of going to talk about a bit today.
And thanks to you, Stephen, really. I mean, you've changed the trajectory and the journey that the agency and we as people have been on. So yeah, congrats to you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks. Appreciate it. So a report from the American Psychological Association found that 89% of employees who feel their company supports their well-being are more likely to recommend it as a great place to work. And today we're diving into how mindfulness can transform not only our workplace culture, but our personal well-being. Mike, introduce our guest today.
And we do have a very special guest with us today, particularly for this topic. So our guest today is Cindy Van Eeckhout. She's a certified mindfulness coach and the founder of Alegria Coaching. And I learned not too long ago as well, the founder of 3 other companies. So maybe we'll hear a little bit about those today on the show as well. Now, Cindy really brings with her the expertise in helping individuals, but also teams to integrate these mindfulness practices into our daily lives, as well creating environments where focus, clarity, and compassion thrive. And her approach is quite interesting because it blends neuroscience, emotional intelligence, as well as some practical tools for the sustainable change to take place. So, Cindy, we are so grateful to have you with us on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for this beautiful introduction, Michael, and congratulations to both of you for the nomination. This is beautiful news, and I will go and vote for you after the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, thank you. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for having me in this beautiful podcast, and yeah, I'm completely ready for it. So yeah, let's make it an interesting, loving, and joyful conversation today.
It will be.
Indeed. So speaking of joyful, so Cindy, I had this weekend, I had a friend call me up and he wanted to go on a hike and talk about work. And he said they were getting amazing results, but the joy was minimal because of the environment he was in. And I feel like this is a very common scenario, that we see today. What type of situations are the people you work with in when they come to you?
This is really depending on the client, but what you're just giving me, there's an example. This is happening a lot. In one hand side, people are successful. They sometimes really love what they're doing, sometimes a little bit less. But anyway, they do like the job they're doing, but then they don't feel this joy. And sometimes because it's a toxic environment, sometimes it are other things, but they don't have this joy and happiness anymore. And they're sometimes quite even ashamed to say it out loud, saying like, I've got so many things that are great and that I need to be grateful for. But at the end, I can't really say that I feel happy and joyful. So these are the typical clients that come to me, and this is where I help them.
So you've worked with a variety of leaders, organizations. Can you take us back to what inspired you to focus your life's work in this area on mindfulness?
Yes, of course. I will tell you a little bit more about my story. I'll go back in time. And I'm originally from Belgium. And when I finished my master's degrees, I started in business engineering. I started to come directly to work in the corporate world. I was a sales manager. I had a team of 10 people focusing on the top 100 companies. And I did it for 8 years. So I was growing, learning, thriving. And most importantly, I met my husband there. And so we decided both after 8 years to leave Belgium and to follow our hearts, to go to Provence and to build a life and a business really aligned with our dreams. So in the meanwhile, we are already for 23 years here in the south of France, and we have created 4 different businesses. And these businesses, they're all soul-led businesses. And there are 2 things that are quite special on them. All of the businesses, they contain the word Alegria, which, Mike, it's in Spanish, it means joy of life.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that they represent another expression of joy. So I quickly go through them to give you an idea about a little bit the background that I have there. So first of all, when we started in 2003, we started with the Alegria B&B. So this was a B&B where we're happy to share like connections, beauty, and just presence as well. And for me, this was really the pure joy of life that we felt that we shared with other people. Then a second company 10 years later was Alegria Art Boutique. And this was all about decoration, jewelry, and art of local and international designers. And this for us was the joy of giving. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit. And in 2020, the world stopped and our 2 businesses as well. So this was for us quite a challenging time. And we were like, okay, what are we going to do? So at that time, we decided like, we like to help people. We speak different languages. We like houses. So we created a third company. And this is what we did. After legal trainings and lots of things we had to do, we started with a third company, Alegria Real Estate, where we not only sell houses or represent or try to find houses for clients, but really try to find a home. And this for us was a joy of living. And then the last company, it's Alegria Coaching. And with Alegria Coaching, I empower driven business women to create a life that feels as good as it looks. And where we work on freedom, on time, on joy. And for me, this is the joy of being. So these are the different types: joy of life, joy of giving, joy of living, and joy of being. So everything went well. And on top, at the end, in 2022, we had like the best year ever. And I'm telling you this because this is the explanation why I switched there. So we had really the best year ever, but I felt like overstretched. I felt overwhelmed and like not aligned anymore with the joy that was always fueling us with all the things we did. And for me, this breakdown became my breakthrough, realizing that success, when you're not aligned, it is not really success. For me, it was like a silent burnout. So, and from there on, what we did, first of all, we simplified, we prioritized what really matters to us. And we did 2 things. First of all, we stopped 2 companies. So it was after 20 years of serving people with a heart. It was the B&B and the boutique. And then we created Alegria Coaching. And this was really the foundation of my Joy of Life method. And in my Joy of Life method, I focus on creating more time, freedom, and energy to do what you love in life. But of course, without sacrificing your success, because there's nothing wrong to be successful, to be ambitious and driven. It's beautiful. And so to end your question, for me, I've got my biggest insights from, because this is like a journey of 23 years of entrepreneurial success in just a nutshell. But for me, the biggest insight was, first of all, that you don't have to sacrifice your well-being to be successful. That's number 1. And number 2 is that joy for me, it is not the result of success, but it's really the foundation of it. And as a last part about joy and mindfulness, because I will talk a lot about both of the words. For me, the link between both of them is like, for me, mindfulness, it will like open a space because you're slowing down. It's opening a space and joy fills it. And this is really the essence of what I teach today. Mm-hmm. This is my journey.
Yeah, I like the different experiences you have there, but the through line of joy in those. So you're able to see it from different perspectives. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. No, and kudos to you for recognizing that you were experiencing that, right? And then allowing the breakthrough to happen. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Cindy. I want to talk a little bit, more so about, the work that perhaps you do with individuals and different leaders, because sometimes it feels like, and maybe this is happening in the minds of leaders before they come to work with you. They feel like maybe mindfulness is just sort of like a nice to have, or, it's not really an essential business practice or a skill. So I'm kind of wondering if you could maybe share with us some examples where mindfulness really, you saw like really, besides your own experience, I guess, shifted the outcome, say for the individual or for the organization that you were working with.
Yeah, it's true what you were telling. Like most of the people, they find it like a little bit fluffy. Like, what has this to do with business? You can do it in your personal time, and that's fine, but don't take it to your business life. So this is like, sometimes they're telling it out loud, sometimes they're just thinking it, but you just see and feel it. And I think completely the other way around, because I think even if you do have this mindfulness and you combine it in your personal life and in your business life, this is powerful. So not only it's powerful, but mindfulness, for me, it can really handle everything. It can handle pressure, it can handle people. So this is the basis already. And I have a leader with whom I work with, and she was like constantly in a reactive mode, like having this pressure all the time. She was like having a lot of mails, but important and urgent mails from the morning until very late in the evening, sometimes night. Apart from that, there were meetings after meetings, a lot of online meetings with other countries with different time zones. So she literally didn't have any time to think, to take a break, to reflect on things, which has like a huge effect on, of course, on your stress, on your overwhelm, but on your health in general. And she really literally felt sometimes not in the best position on the health situation. So we implemented some mindfulness tools, and the result was very quickly there. Not only, and she promised not only to do it during the work, but also at home, because it starts at home in the morning. But when she did, she was not only calmer, but she was also more clear about everything. Mm-hmm. So her decisions, for instance, they were like much improved, and her team felt also much more supported. And thanks to that, if you have that, stress goes down, productivity goes up. And what I say at that time, because I think it's so crucial, because it is like, it looks like something tiny, this mindfulness, but the effect it has. And I do believe that the way you lead yourself is the way you lead others. So first of all, you have to start with yourself. And if we talk about mindfulness, if we talk about self-care, if we talk about joy, you start with yourself, and then you can see what it brings to the team. And then people can and will follow you. And in general, you don't need more hours in a day. You just need more presence. And this is, for me, the most important message. And if you do that, you will see results are amazing.
I like how you said that, right? You almost end up wasting less time, right? Because you're much more focused.
That's the idea.
That last part you mentioned a little bit about, it's really like leadership isn't just about managing others. It's kind of about mastering yourself a lot of times, and then that comes out in your leadership, naturally. And I think that's usually kind of the first place people really need to start. You mentioned it being, that feeling of it being a little bit fluffy, of soft skill. how would you introduce mindfulness in an environment that is skeptical, or, maybe, like you said, fast paced or whatever? Where do you start with that?
Yeah, first of all, I would say, as with everything, if you don't like something because you're judgmental, and I would say, did you ever try it? So, and if they didn't, why don't you try it just once? Just try. We can do it together, do some breathing, so just try it once. And another thing, because I know, especially for companies, I work also a lot with entrepreneurs, business owners. That's different, because they just feel that they need to do something, because they will go to exhaustion, burnout. But if it's in a company, it's sometimes different. And then what I can really recommend, and I talked about you already once, it's a beautiful application. It's called Warm Space, because there everything is proven with scientific proof. And what is this application? I'm just going to explain it a bit. I don't have any actions in it, but I just love what they're doing, because what they do, they bring mindfulness in an application, and it's like Zoom or Teams, but I call it Zoom with a heart. And what they do, they start the meeting, especially when we are in like this, in a virtual meeting, an online meeting, instead of just diving in immediately with what are the goals, what are the results, what is going well or not at all in general, you just start with 3 minutes extra in the beginning of the meeting. It's 1 minute of breathing. You breathe all together online. Then there is giving appreciation. You just give appreciation, and everything is a little bit timed, and it's a funny way how they do it. Followed by, you give then the words that you feel after the breathing, after the appreciation. So after being already in the mindfulness mode, you give some words how you feel now. And fourthly, you scale yourself on 1 to 10, how you really feel. You do this in the beginning of the meeting. Then you have the meeting in this warm space, or you can really plug it into your Zoom or your Teams. And at the end of the meeting, you just repeat it. The same thing. And it's impressive, because if you would do before doing the mindfulness exercise, at the beginning and at the end, if I would, or somebody would ask before, how do you feel? Imagine we're just a little bit stressed or anxious or whatever, and note down the words that are linked with that. The words won't be quite positive words, but just by implementing these 3 minutes of breathing and thankfulness, gratefulness, it shifts everything. And the way the words that you give are different. And we all know that the words, as you say, words become thoughts, and thoughts become things. And this is reality. And they work together now with the biggest companies in the world, because they see the proven results that it not only have on paper, but on their meetings, on their people, on the engagement, the connections, and everything. So for people who are skeptical, is try Warm Space out and just see what it does, or just try it out without Warm Space, but just do a little bit of mindfulness tools. And just see how you feel, how your team is feeling, and how it has an impact on everybody.
Yeah, words are powerful.
Yeah, I love hearing about these systems that are rising, now in our workplace, especially, that's like one that would be very good for remote companies, in their meeting environments, kind of like the Zoom situation. But it's interesting seeing these technologies come in with, modern technologies with the old sort of ancient technologies, and how we can combine them, going forth in our everyday sort of work life. Is there any certain practices like that you would recommend for someone to do on a daily basis? I know I get up every morning and will have my meditation session, or I'll occasionally have like my heart math app on my phone that I'll just do like a 5-minute. What would you recommend as sort of a daily starting practice?
So my tools that I recommend, but I go, first of all, what I think that is really important when you talk about this mindfulness tools, for me, it always starts with clarity and intention in the beginning. And then apart from that, it's all about prioritizing self-care. And this is what I think it's one of the most important things, because if you take care of yourself, like you did this morning, if you take care of yourself, you can take better care of others. And it all starts with that. And thanks to So with the tools that I will give, so in my Joy of Life method as well, I always start first with yourself. And this is not selfish. These are just tools for yourself. Because if you do it first for yourself, you will really energize you. And this is what it's all about. Because if you're on empty, your day won't be very productive and successful. So this is the first thing. And then there are tools that you can implement for your team and for your company. So to give you some example, number one is what you were saying, but it's really number one. It's having a daily morning routine. And I emphasize morning routine. If you can add an evening routine, it's even better to have two, but you really have to do it in the morning, because otherwise the day and everything will wake up, the noise will come, and there's a big chance you're not going to do it. And when I talk about the daily routine, for me, there are 3 ingredients that are really, really important. Number 1, it's meditation. Number 2, it's breathing. And number 3, it's gratefulness. And however you do it, you can combine the 3, because there are meditations with breathing and with gratefulness. This is great. You can have them separately. You can have meditations for 1 minute, for 3 minutes, for 10 minutes, for an hour. You just decide what is really aligned, not only with you, but also with your planning of the day. And the most important thing is to be and stay consistent. And this is the challenge of most of the people, is the consistency. Because even if the day is challenging, and I always say to my clients, even if they're really, you can't do 10 minutes, you can't do 5 minutes, I say, take 1 minute and breathe for 1 minute. And if you can't take 1 minute for yourself to breathe, then there are some other exercises we should do, because then there's really a problem if you give so much to all the rest and not even 1 minute to breathe intentionally. So these are the 3 ingredients of for the morning routine. And if on top of that, again, depending on your timing, if you can add some physical activity on it, then you're like, because you have to work on your health, and this is mental, physical, emotional, and spiritually. And if you do this, the meditation with then some physical, whatever, if it's yoga, if it's walking, if it's a little bit of strength training. And also there are people say, I don't have the time. There are programs of 10 minutes of strength training, and you can do it at home. And I do it. And sometimes you don't have to be hard on yourself if it doesn't work. Most importantly, don't be hard, but just do then one thing, one little thing. So this is my mindfulness tool number 1. And then if we come back to the work floor and the businesses, what I do think is very important is to continue a little bit with that and have intentional spaces during the day and really plan them and say, like, I will have like a 5 minutes break at 10 and just also be present. You can do breathing. You can, if you have the nature, or you have like a beautiful view on the water that you have there, Mike, look at the water, look wherever you are, but take this 5 minutes a couple of times a day. So these are intentional spaces.
I know exactly, like when I hit my wall during the day, like the time frame, it gets in the afternoon. For me, it's like around that 2 o'clock, 2:30. Like this is where I take that intentional sort of break in the day, just because, I can start to feel it right then. I've gone several hours straight. Usually at that point, I'm like, okay, need to regroup a little bit to push through the end of the day there.
Yeah. And I think, Steve, even internally within our agency, I think we all sort of feel the grind when you've got so many meetings, right? You're going from, so like, I think internally, like our agency, we're mindful of, okay, does this person even have, already 3 meetings on their calendar today? I'm not going to burden them or add another one. I was wondering, when Cindy said that she'll spend her day a lot of times on online meetings, do you feel like there's a cap that you hit where you start to see your energy level go down? Because I know for me, it's like, it's 3, right? If I do more than 3 meetings in one day, especially if they're back to back, I'm done.
It all depends a little bit of sorry, I just saw that you were disappearing, so I was like a little bit confused. So anyway, for me, for the meetings, yes, I do a lot of meetings. I work online, and it really depends. Sometimes I can have much more than 3, but what is important, and this was one of the tools that I really wanted to talk about as well, it's have not only before every meeting, having a little bit of breathing before each meeting. And there is time, and I have the luxury that I live in nature in this beautiful village in Provence, and I just go outside. So I just go literally outside, and I watch nature. I watch birds, butterflies. I watch the pool. I go outside, and this, it's like, for me, it's a source that I can energize myself back again. But I do know that not everybody can go outside. But if you just take a little bit of breathing before the next meeting, it's already amazing. And apart from that, the other thing is what I was just telling, when people are skeptical, if you start also a meeting with some mindful practices, and whatever, it's like starting with winds of learning or with the breathing that I was explaining and scaling. But if you start already with wins, and I do this every time with my clients, I just say, okay, what are the wins and the learnings of last week? And when you start with that, so it's not only about the energy inside, but it's also how you feel. And sometimes you just don't feel like you should. But by being with these wins and celebrating these beautiful wins, you completely change, and the mindset changes. And this is, like, for me, the most important thing, that again, your mindset is all there.
There
So
you go. Yeah.
is this an answer to your question?
Yeah, I think so. You just got to put these things into practice, and not just feel like you're on the treadmill, going, but you got to take a break. Cindy, so one thing that we've found in our work that is also very motivating is having a clearly defined purpose, right? There's a purpose for an organization. There's sometimes, individuals have their own, purpose. And so I always love to ask this question of all of our guests. What in your view, right? In your view, what is the importance of having a well-defined purpose? What role does it play, would you say?
For me, the purpose, it's your bigger why. And having a well-defined purpose as a person, as a company, it will give you the fuel to do whatever you want to do. And without it, you will stop after a certain time because the fuel will run out.
Yeah.
So this purpose is really very important. It's your big why.
Wouldn't agree more. For sure. It's we always love to come back, to why do we do what we do, without a doubt. Yeah, there's many great organizations out there that we talk about on the show. We've highlighted Bombas Socks at times, right? Like, they want to make sure that everyone has the dignity of having something very simple like socks, right? So whenever someone purchases a sock, they give socks away, simply because they understand the importance of that. And it just it's wonderful how a simple thing like that could really drive a whole organization. So I wanted to also ask Cindy a little bit, maybe going back to the coaching that you do, sort of the deeper purpose behind the work that you do. I know you described it a little bit earlier in terms of, like, that you started this company, but can you give us a little bit more insight in terms of, why you're doing the work that you're doing today and how it aligns maybe with your deeper purpose?
Yes, of course. So to talk about my personal purpose, it's like doing what really is aligned, what is important and truly aligned with and important for me. And for me, it's like having a fulfilled and balanced life with my family, travel, and while doing that, empowering people to experience greater joy, greater happiness, greater love and abundance. So this is my big why, my personal purpose. So how do I translate it now in my day-to-day mission, if I could say like that?
Yeah.
So in my Joy of Life method, I empower driven business women. So first of all, to work smarter, not harder, to prioritize self-care and mindfulness, so they can really create more time, freedom, and energy to do what they love without sacrificing their success, their joy, and their well-being. So this is my mission that I do day to day.
And amen to you for doing that, because I think that's so necessary, right, in the world today. I look at my wife, I've been married to her for 25 years, super successful. And it's like the giving tree. You know that story, right, where the tree just like gives and gives and gives and gives. And, eventually the tree is just this stump. And, there's so many, bright, women leaders out there, and you just really want them to keep going, to be able to keep doing what they're doing and not, just be completely self-sacrificing, but be able to do more self-care and be more mindful, of their own well-being and health. So I'm very happy that you're helping our community to do that.
And thank you. And again, when you say that, and I love that, and it's true that women are very into giving and giving and giving. And it's so important they feel good, because even if they give, so first of all, they energize themselves. And if they give, they will not only feel good, but they will do good. And this has a ripple effect. And it's like quite impressive if you have this ripple effect in the world. So, and it will change everything in life, business and also your personal life.
We talked a little bit about this, I think, before the show, but how do you see mindfulness influencing kind of the future work, especially in the remote and hybrid models, as they evolve? I know for us, remote it's just this ongoing journey and challenge. We have a headquarters and a location where we can connect together, but a good portion of our staff is all remote. So how do you see mindfulness influencing kind of the future of this sort of new environment?
It is, like you say, it is very challenging, I think, for all companies, small or big companies. So for me, I see mindfulness as a bridge in one hand side for human connections, and the other side as a tool for resilience. And if we will have, especially in this remote and hybrid models, we will need more than just structures, because we're not going to survive only with structures. We really need these connections, and these connections are important, and their mindfulness can help us to slow down, to listen deeper, and to really lead with presence and not with pressure. So, and apart from that, I do believe as well that in the future, the emotional sustainability, so the resilience there, will be like a very competitive edge, because everything is changing so quickly with AI and everything. So, in order to cope with all these changes, you really need to be today very flexible. You need to be adaptable, and so you need a lot of emotions that are strong enough to be able to shift with all this. So, and having that said, to be able to have these strong emotions, you need a high energy level. And to get a high energy level, you need to work on your mindfulness and on your self-care. So it's all connected. So this is why I just repeated to companies, to leaders, because it is not fluffy. And if you don't work on your well-being of the people in your company, or if you have your own company, on your own well-being today, and you don't work on your self-care, you will just be completely without any energy. And then at that point, it will be too late. And the future is not the future, it's already there. AI is changing everything today. And it's all okay, but you just need to be aware that first work on yourself, work on your healthcare, do that every day, and magic will happen. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, it's like we love to say, try to help others to be the best version of themselves. And Cindy, you have a fan. We want to thank our listener, Dr. Joan Hadari, for joining us today. And she's very impressed and happy with the work that you're doing there, Cindy.
Thank you, Joanne, for just being there and listening to this conversation. Get in touch later with you. But really, thanks for being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cindy, I just want to ask one other, just maybe very quick question. When it comes to values, right? For some of the organizations that you work with, if there were 3 values that you wanted an organization, and I got a feeling one of them is going to be mindfulness, but if there were 3 values that an organization should adopt, what would you say they should be?
That's putting some pressure. You got a number there, Mike. It's like,
what if it's just one value, I guess?
No, but it's all fine. But what I think, first of all, we're talking all the time here about well-being and mindfulness. So of course, this is one value. But I'll share mine because I've got lots of values. And I've got 3 layers. And the first 3, and I will take this first 3. My 3 first values are love, joy, and serve. And if you combine 3, you really have like a complete different mindset. But then people need to follow the values. So it's not enough to have them on paper.
Yeah.
You need to lead with these values, and you need to lead to serve people, not only the clients, but also yourself and also the other, the team members and the other colleagues. So this is a serving part, and the joy as well. If you fill yourself with this joy, and joy is not something you can find. It's something you really have to create in a day-to-day basis, and it's not easy. It's like a muscle. It's like training, so it's not so easy. But when you understand how it works, and you feel this joy, you just radiate it. And people feel it. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. It is there. So you have to serve the joy and then the love. And this is also so crucial for every company. So these are mine. And then I've got a second layer with other values like authenticity, what I think is very important, health, and it all is connected with each other, and freedom, because also the freedom in life, it's important. And my last one it's a third layer. It's also important, but I work in layers. It's continuous and never-ending improvement, because this is where we grow if you learn. And I love to learn about all kind of things. And this makes also life more interesting. And this also fills again your energy, your joy. So I think that so many things are connected where people, they just place it in different little boxes. I don't see it like that.
Yeah. Wow. I wholeheartedly agree, right? There is more joy in giving than receiving. So, like you said, the act of giving is important. I'm so glad we asked that question, Cindy, and got a chance to, speak about all of those values.
Yeah,
so you're
great.
happy with the 3 or the 6?
Yeah, I like the layer. And I'd say, like, if you're listening and you want to hear more about Cindy's layers, get in touch with her. And she can teach you a little bit more about all those layers.
Well, yeah. Question I ask every guest on the show: what role does love play in business?
As I just told, it's my value. It's my first value. So for me, it's very important. And I want to point out as well that if we talk about love or other skills, these are not soft skills. For me, they're core leadership strength, and they are so underestimated. And when I talk about love in leadership, I don't mean something sentimental. It's for me like a deeper care, and that care, for me, it starts with self-love. And if you don't love yourself with all your imperfections, you will keep leading with pressure and overdrive. This is how it feels for me. So if I talk about love and self-love and I translate it in leadership, for me, it looks like presence. It looks like boundaries. It looks like deep listening. And most importantly, authentic connections. So this is what it all looks about. And if you ask me, is this important? It's just the foundation. It is important, and it's the most important. So this is why I love the podcast you're having, because it's all foundation.
Beautiful answer. I love the beautiful answers our guests continually give on that question. They're always just coming at it a little bit differently. It's always unique to hear everyone's perspective on that.
Yeah, that was a beautiful answer. So Cindy, I mean, this was a great conversation with so many insights. Thank you for sharing as well your journey and how you've come to your work today, and so much gratitude really for the work that you're doing. Now, for our listeners, if they do want to learn a little bit more about your work, or if they want to connect with you, where would you like them to go and follow up with you?
So they can follow me on my website, and that's alegriacoaching.eu. So Alegria is with one L, but I suppose it will be marked somewhere. So it's ALEGRIA, coaching in one word.eu. And what I can say, so if whatever I told, if it's resonating with you, do know you don't have to do it alone. And do know that everything goes little step by little step. And if you go and check out my website, you will see in the banner, there is a free Joy of Life assessment. And in only 2 minutes, you can not only see what is giving you the stress, the overwhelm, and what is blocking you on that part, but you will have personalized tips to reduce the stress, to reclaim your time, and to create the freedom that you deserve. So it's free and it's really powerful. So this is the assessment. And then a second way to get in touch with me, it's through my LinkedIn. So on my name, Cindy Van Eeckhout, you will find me on LinkedIn, and you can follow me there with lots of pleasure.
Cindy, thank you for joining us on the show today. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. If today's episode sparked a new perspective on how mindfulness can transform your work, your life, don't forget to subscribe or leave a review or share it with someone who could benefit from Cindy's story today. And we will see you next time on the Bliss Business Podcast.